Stop chasing motivation. Build this instead. You've probably said it to yourself more times than you can remember. I'll start when I feel motivated. When the spark comes back. When I finally feel ready. And maybe it does come sometimes. A burst of energy. A surge of inspiration. A sudden belief that this time will be different. But then, it fades. And you're left wondering, what's wrong with you? Think about this for a moment. What if motivation was never the problem? What if chasing it is the very thing keeping you stuck? Because here's what no one tells you. Motivation is not the engine of change. It's a side effect, and when you build your life around waiting for a feeling, you give your future to something unstable, unpredictable, and fleeting. Carl Jung believed that the psyche seeks wholeness, not comfort. And yet, modern culture has taught us to expect progress to feel good. So, when effort feels heavy, when resistance appears, when the excitement disappears, we assume something is wrong. But what if that discomfort is actually the signal that something real is happening? Now ask yourself honestly, how many times have you delayed your life because the feeling wasn't there? How many decisions have you postponed, waiting for motivation to arrive like permission? Friedrich Nietzsche warned that humans often mistake pleasure for purpose. He believed that strength is forged not through excitement, but through endurance, through the willingness to act without guarantees. And yet, we've been taught the opposite. We're told that if something is meant for us, it will feel effortless. But effortlessness is not growth. It's familiarity. Napoleon Hill spent decades studying people who achieved extraordinary results, and what he found was unsettling. They didn't rely on motivation. They relied on decision, a firm, unwavering commitment that remained intact even when emotion collapsed. Hill observed that once a decision is made, the mind begins reorganizing itself around it. In other words, motivation follows commitment, not the other way around. But here's where things get deeper, because even commitment can feel exhausting if it's built on the wrong foundation. Carl Jung would say that when your actions are misaligned with your unconscious identity, you experience friction. You can force yourself for a while, but eventually, the psyche rebels. This is why discipline built on self-punishment never lasts. It's not sustainable because it's not integrated. So, what do you build instead of motivation? You build identity. Think about this for a moment. When someone says, "I'm not motivated to exercise," what they're really saying is, "This action doesn't match how I see myself." But when someone believes, deeply and unconsciously, "I am someone who trains," the question of motivation disappears. The behavior becomes expression. Friedrich Nietzsche called this becoming who you are, not forcing transformation, but embodying it. Alan Watts approached this from a different angle. He reminded us that the ego loves drama. It loves the emotional highs of motivation and the lows of guilt. Why? Because both reinforced the illusion of control. I felt motivated, so I acted. I didn't feel motivated, so I failed. But reality doesn't work like that. Life moves whether you feel inspired or not, and the most peaceful people are not those who feel motivated every day, but those who act without negotiating with their emotions. Viktor Frankl discovered this in the darkest possible conditions. In the absence of comfort, pleasure, and choice, motivation became meaningless. What remained was meaning. He observed that those who survived were not the most optimistic, but those who found a reason to act beyond how they felt. Meaning did not remove suffering, but it made suffering bearable. And here's the quiet truth hiding underneath all of this. Motivation is about emotion, but consistency is about values. Motivation asks, "How do I feel today?" Values ask, "Who do I choose to be?" Now ask yourself, what values are guiding your actions right now? Or are you outsourcing your life to your mood? Because moods change, identity remains. But here's what no one tells you. Identity is not discovered. It is constructed. Every action you repeat becomes a vote for the person you are becoming. Every time you act, despite resistance, the unconscious takes note. Carl Jung believed that what we repeatedly do sinks into the psyche and shapes the self. So, discipline isn't about forcing yourself. It's about becoming someone who no longer debates certain actions. You don't debate brushing your teeth. You don't debate showing up to work, not because you're motivated, but because it's who you are. So imagine this. What if you stopped asking, "Am I motivated?" and started asking, "Is this aligned with who I am becoming?" Suddenly, the internal struggle changes. The question is no longer emotional. It's existential, and that changes everything. Napoleon Hill emphasized the power of habit, not as routine, but as identity reinforcement. Habits are not about productivity. They are about belief. They teach the mind what kind of person you are. And once belief shifts, behavior follows effortlessly. This is why chasing motivation is exhausting. You're trying to repeatedly convince yourself to be someone you haven't yet decided to be. But when you decide, truly decide, something settles. The noise quiets. The negotiation ends. Alan Watts would say that effort disappears when resistance disappears, and resistance often comes from internal contradiction. You want change, but you also want comfort. You want growth, but you also want certainty. Motivation can't resolve that conflict. Only honesty can. Now, let's bring this home. You don't need more motivation. You need clarity. Clarity about what matters. Clarity about who you are becoming. Clarity about what you're willing to do, even when no one is watching, even when it feels boring, slow, or uncomfortable, because the future version of you is not built on inspiration. It's built on repetition, and repetition doesn't care how you feel. Friedrich Nietzsche believed that greatness is forged in solitude, in moments where no applause exists, and that's where identity is shaped. In the quiet, in the ordinary, in the unglamorous. So the next time you catch yourself waiting for motivation, pause and ask yourself, what would the person I want to become do without motivation? Then do that once, and then again, not perfectly, but consistently. Because motivation fades, identity remains. And when identity aligns with action, life stops feeling like a fight. It starts feeling like a flow. If this message spoke to you, subscribe to Becoming You, and keep growing with us. And if you watched until the end, comment the word alignment below and share what resonated most. This isn't about feeling ready. It's about becoming real.